Hey, it's Alexander Investment Insights, everybody. Welcome back to another video. We're going to go over a few stocks this time, like Palantir. We're going to go over Ddog. We're going to go over a lot of stocks like Spotify, Disney, Nike, Apple, Microsoft, tons of different stocks, right? So that's what we're going to go through, and we're going to start off with Palantir. Palantir's been pushing up past that $40 level. The only thing I have on my chart for Palantir now is the support at 39.15. If we actually go out to the weekly chart, we can see that it's actually heading back to its all-time highs around $45. I don't really have a play to get to that $45. It is possibly very likely that it will reach that $45 and above, but there's not really like a clear resistance that I see to where it breaks. It's definitely going to reach that level. So really all I have is support on Palantir. I do want to buy Palantir shares, but I want it to get like a drop down. I may think that they're a little overvalued at this point in terms of the chip sector. So a little drop down, perhaps somewhere around to the mid 30s, low 30s. I'll start buying shares then on Palantir. Right now, it's just a little bit too high for me. But if we do see a play like swing calls to the all-time highs and past all-time highs, then I'll let y'all know. But all I have there on Palantir is a support level on AMD stock. We're actually starting heading back up on AMD stock. Like I said in the last video, we have our resistance at 182 and our support at 160. We've been bearish on AMD stock ever since March 4th, 2024. So it's about, 5 months we've been bearish. And so we do have this support here at 182. Once this 182 to 186 range breaks, we could see AMD going back around its all-time highs to the 210s, 220 area. That's only if this 182 to 186 resistance breaks. And we are heading up right now, so this could be an opportunity to perhaps get swing calls or a little bit of shares just for a swing up to this target and then sell it at that point or sell half. And if this target breaks, it might stall out because we do have earnings on AMD at October 29th. So that's what I see on AMD. It's kind of in no man's land, to be honest, because we're both super far from the resistance and its support. And it might just want to stall out before we reach a resistance. So that's all I see on AMD. There's really not much plays there on AMD. We go over to Ddog. Ddog hit its resistance at 125 today and then went right back down. We would go to the 5-minute chart. You see in the morning, went to its resistance, went a little bit right above it, then rejected and came right back down. So Ddog, looking at its resistance right now, we want to see if that breaks. And if Ddog breaks that resistance, we could probably see it back to the 130s, low 130 levels. To its next resistance. So that's what I see on Ddog, kind of going up in these past few days. I do have support here at 116, and if this breaks, we'll actually have a new support, but we're gonna wait for that this week and see what Ddog wants to do. If we go to Adobe stock now, Adobe trading down recently. I have support here at 472 and resistance at 528. We actually go to the weekly chart on Adobe. We've been bearish on Adobe pretty much since November 2021. We haven't really had all-time highs since then. Yes, we came crashing down and we went back up from October. Had a little bit of a bull run here, but it looks like we're kind of like giving it back up almost. We want to see where Adobe finds support on the daily chart if we really want another shares play on Adobe. So for right now, it's kind of in no man's land. Nothing I would do on Adobe. Let's go to SMCI. SMCI has been having, a lot of bad news lately. It went to our resistance at 446.50 and actually went back down today. So it hasn't officially broken our resistance level. We do have another resistance here at, actually I'm going to move this resistance right here to 48.45. And that's our resistance on Adobe's, or on SMCI. So once we really break this and start having more green candles up, that's when we could get a small swing shares play. I don't really feel like playing leaps or options on SMCI considering how much bad news is coming out revolving around SMCI, but it is in that chip sector, and a lot of the chip sector are seeing very high revenues right now. But that's what I see on SMCI. I have support down here at 38.50. There's another support around here at 41.50, but I'm just going to keep this one here in case we still heading down. It's kind of in the gutter. It's just been heading down ever since March 2024. It's actually down. If we come here from the all-time highs, right now it's down 63%, but it did go all the way down 69%. So, and obviously we had, the big push that SMCI had, one of the biggest gainers actually in the chip sector. So it kind of makes sense that it's giving it this all, not all of it up, but up here it was overvalued. So that's what I see on SMCI. We got these two levels right there. We go to Dash. This is DoorDash. DoorDash has actually been seeing some upwards movement recently, but now it's stalled this week, and we have support here at 140.50. We zoom out. Once they IPO'd, they kind of had like some, stall, not very stalled, but they went up, went down, went up, and they really went down because I don't think their profits were really that good, but I think they started becoming a profitable company somewhere around here, and now we're seeing their stock price go back up. But right now, we broke kind of a resistance around here at 139, and then we went up, and now it's kind of finding support right here. So I don't really have a resistance for you, considering that, well, actually there is a resistance, but it's all the way up here at 155.50, and we are coming into earnings seasons, which is very important. DoorDash could move a lot off of earnings. It could dump all the way back down off of earnings, or it could skyrocket up depending on what the earning report says, right? So that's what I see on DoorDash. Just watch this support. If this support breaks at 140.50, we could start heading back down to lower prices around 130. So that's what I see on DoorDash. We go to Intel stock. Obviously, Intel stock at very low prices. It hasn't had a good year. I think they kind of not gave up on the AI chip making, but they were slow to it, and since then we've been getting we had a low around $18. Then we've had a lot of positive news since that low on Intel. They've had some deals from the government and other companies coming in, giving them grants, giving them money, funds, so they could ramp up their production again. So it actually held support here perfectly at 22.10, and I have resistance at 24.25. So we're going to want to see how Intel reacts to this resistance, because if this resistance breaks, we could see some more higher prices on Intel. This is a good resistance to have on your chart. If this resistance breaks, we could see a little bit more push on Intel before its earnings come around. So that's what I'm looking for on Intel, just to see what it wants to do between this support and resistance. At pretty low prices right now, considering where it's been in the past. We go to the month, obviously we've gone up and came right back down, but we were at prices down here that we hadn't been since 2029, or 2009. So that's what I see on Intel. I just want to see what it does to the upside, if it presents a play for me to get shares again. Like if it breaks this 24.25, we could get shares and then possibly swing that up to, there's really no price target if we break this. It could rocket fast, or it could just stall around here. So it's very interesting because we don't really have a price target once we break that resistance on the upside on Intel. So I'm just going to leave that there. We jump over to Spotify now. Spotify, I have resistance at 379.50 and support at 343, because we're all at all-time highs, or we were at all-time highs right up here, right? Pretty much hit that all-time high and it's been coming down this week. So we want to see what Spotify does. Does it have more pullback to this support, right? That looks like it might be happening right now, having some pullback back to its support, and we find support, and then we'll see what happens on Spotify. That's all I really have right now. I don't really see a clear play on Spotify. We go to Ubiquity going up, booming up these past few months. I have some resistance here on Ubiquity at 250, and then I have support. Actually, I don't really have a support on Ubiquity right now. If I had to put a support, I put it right here at 216. So you can make that your support on Ubiquity is 216 support, and then once again we have resistance kind of far from it, but up here at 250. So we're gonna want to see what Ubiquity does. They do pay dividends as well, so that's what I've seen on Ubiquity. We go to Verizon really quick. Verizon hit our resistance of $45 and has been coming down since then. I had support at $42.30, We're just going to want to see how Verizon reacts, because they do have another support here at $43. I'm actually going to move this support up right here and put it at $43.30. And then if that breaks, then we'll obviously see some more downside back to around $42. So that's what I see on Verizon. They also pay dividends on Thursday, October 10th. I think that the X date should be 2 days before that. So the Tuesday or something, that should be the X date, would be the last date that you could get in to get paid dividends for that quarter. Pretty simple there on Verizon. We'll go to Apple stock. Apple stock's just been stalled for the last pretty much month and a half. It's been going up, down, not really like doing great price movement or anything, and their products releasing haven't had a lot of hype around them, because usually when Apple releases a phone or comes out with some new technology, you'll see their stock reflect that. And we just had the iPhone release, a few different Apple technologies coming out, but there's not really anything exciting going on with the stock price. I don't know if that reflects how the consumer feels about the technology or not, but that's just what I see. So I have resistance at 230, support at 222.75, and another support at 214.30. If this support breaks around 222 to 221, we could see Apple back to the 214s, the 2 teens area, maybe even back down to the 210s area. We're going to have to wait and see. Microsoft coming down to hit our support perfectly at 408. We actually go to the 5-minute chart. You see that it actually broke that support during pre-market and then went right back up to it. And then once we opened up in the first 5 minutes, we hit that support, didn't want to break it, and then we kind of went up and then just stalled out on the rest of the day at Microsoft. So that might be a sign that Microsoft found support. We're just going to have to want to see on the daily chart whether it actually holds support and then goes back up to our resistance at 435, or if this support breaks. So that's what I see there on Microsoft. We could have played that support maybe in the morning. Since it broke pre-market, it's not really that great, but those are the two levels I have on Microsoft. Pretty simple. Keep it straightforward. We'll go to Google. Google has a resistance at 168.40 and a support at 160.70. So we're going to want to see where Google finds support. Kind of holding support here at 162.90, but if we break that support, we'll go back to 160.70. So pretty simple there on Google. Just make sure you have those on your chart. And make sure you're watching the S&P 500 every single day if you're going to play any options on these main options, play these high volume stocks. Here on Tesla, once again, we have this yellow vertical line because that is when the Robotaxi We Robot event is going to be releasing. So we're just going to want to wait until that day, because after that day we have around 2 weeks of trading before we have their earnings, which is also very important. So it's kind of a lot of volatility is going to be happening on Tesla, so you don't want to get caught in any bad swings. I'm not going to play any swings on Tesla the next 2 weeks. Scalping, this could be a very good time to scalp Tesla, because with that high volatility, if you have a good target prices, you could get some nice scalps there in the first hour of the market open, 30 minutes of the market open. Now, hopefully produce some nice percentage gains, but no swings on Tesla. I'm not really a swing trader, actually. I pretty much only do scalping to bring in consistent profits, and then shares for the long terms once I see undervalued stocks. So that's what I see on Tesla. You go back to my last video, we talked about Tesla. We also talked about Nvda. Nvda breaking its resistance at 128. So I'm actually going to have to move resistance on Nvda, and I'm just going to put a support here on Nvidia around actually I'm just gonna keep that at 127.50. So that 127.50 is now our support on Nvidia. We're gonna want to see how that reacts. Like I said, once we break that 127.50 on the upside with confirmation, we could see Nvidia back to all-time highs, and it's looking that just might want to happen. I did play swing calls once it broke this. I made about 40% and I sold it. That was the play I was looking for. Maybe if we break this 135, then I'll play another swing call back up to the 140. That's a big if, because I already made my swing call on Nvidia here. But also there are some nice levels that I could scalp, and then there might be a scalp tomorrow on Nvidia for a nice percentage gain, and then the day after that, because Nvidia is moving up pretty fast, and you don't want to miss out on things. So what I said on Nvidia is pretty much happening. We're actually going to Meta right now. Meta pretty much at all-time highs. All I have here is a support at 750. Been saying that. keep it straightforward. We'll go on to Disney. Disney stock has its support at $92 and its resistance at $95.30. We're going to want to see if this holds on Disney stock. If this holds on Disney stock and starts reversing back up quickly, kind of like we did here, that's a good opportunity to buy shares because Disney, to me, is pretty much undervalued at this point. You go back in its history, it hasn't really had that many stark down movements like this, and when it has a stark down movement like this, it recovers back to the upside. Maybe not insanely fast to the upside, but to me, Disney's not going anywhere. They're a conglomerate. They actually own so many companies that you wouldn't even realize. Marvel, ESPN, just so many different companies that you wouldn't even realize that Disney owns. Actually, they own a ton of real estate in Florida too, which I'm bullish on. So, 2 levels there on Disney. You could scalp Disney also right now, but I don't really see any price targets that are good for scalping. Once again, watch out. Price targets for scalping are different from support and resistances. A lot of the time. Sometimes they could be the same. But Nike here, I have support at 78.30 and resistance here at 88.70. So it's kind of in no man's land right now. It's just been dropping. It had earnings. It dumped. And we're dropping even some more, which is great. I started shares on Nike down here. This was during the Summer Olympics. This is when I bought in on Nike. And then so these lower prices, I actually bought again right around here. And if we break this resistance and go back here, man, I'll buy it again. And if we go down to $60, I buy it again because this is kind of also a conglomerate. They own Converse, Nike, Cole Hands, a lot of different Nike brands as well. And right now we're actually trading, we're down 55% and it was down around 60%. So maybe Nike has some more downside all the way back down to the 60 level, but to me that's beautiful. I'll just buy up the shares then because eventually I think that Nike is going to recover and I think that's a beautiful thing. So we'll go here to Ulta stock. This level here is, I had it because I bought down here on Ulta around 240, and about 3 days after I put in the shares on Ulta, that's when Warren Buffett bought. Then Warren Buffett bought and it pushed the stock up. Then we had earnings, pushed it down a little bit, and we recovered. And right now we're actually coming down on Ulta. So I have support here on Ulta at 356. Then I have resistance at 404. There's 2 levels you could have on Ulta. We might actually scalp Ulta depending on what the team thinks of that. But yeah, we could possibly scalp Ulta down to this 356 level. It's kind of looking like it wants to go back down. Maybe even break this support and keep going back down. If we get Ulta below 300, that's where I want to buy more shares. I'll love to buy more shares of Ulta below 300. So that's what I see there on Ulta. And let's go through one more stock here on Dell. Dell, I have resistance at 124.50 and support at 110. So that's what I see there on Dell. Look like we're kind of having some good up movement on Dell. Nvda and Dell, I think, work not hand in hand, but Dell is one of Nvidia's favorite hardware companies, which is great to hear. So there I have support at 110 and resistance at 124. Actually go to the weekly chart, see how far Dell is down, because I actually like Dell as a company, and if I could get some shares in it, I really should have got shares down here, and down in here. We wanted it below 100 in August, so that was down 50%. Right now it's currently down 32%, which is still not bad, This could be a possible share swings up to around 145, which would produce, if we bought it, let's say tomorrow morning, and we sold it at 145, that's 20% gain, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good for shares. So that's what I see on Dell. I'm gonna end the video here. I don't really want to get it too long, so make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll keep uploading more videos. Thank you.